everyone. Welcome to yet another episode or yet another live show of Contact Lost, the Polish podcast about competitive Warhammer 40k. Uh, that is usually hosted and today also hosted by myself, so Tomek, also known as Tweek. With me today, I have my two co-hosts. First one, Michał, also known as Joker. Hi, dude.
Hello.
Good to have you. And the newest addition to the team, but now also like the permanent member of Contact Lost. I give you the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost of the Polish national team, Patrick Majson.
Hello.
I just keep on inventing those nicknames because I know that you collect them. So
I just need to.
Note them
Just need to note them down, and soon there will be one podcast that you'll just need to mention all of them, and this will take like an hour.
Yeah, it will be like a Game of Thrones episode, basically, where they introduce Khaleesi. So you're our Khaleesi now.
We could do that. You read them out, and then people can super chat new ones, and you add them to your list, and we'll be rich, and everyone's happy.
Yeah. So in order
to do it in comments, please.
Maybe do it in the comments, and once we reach 1,000 subscribers, which we hope to do very soon, then you will be able to super chat. So
get your moms on board, get your wives on board, get your kids on board, whatever.
The way Joker does it.
Just do it. Yep.
He's a role model when it comes to that. So
my mom's the first one to like our Facebook posts, so guys, the pressure's there.
And then his wife is the second one in line. So we have a bunch of interesting announcements that we're going to make probably somewhere later in the episode. But today, just to do away with the introduction, we are here to discuss the Balance Dataslate, something that was released by GW today. Some say long overdue, some say just awaited. We will see whether the changes introduced in the Balance Dataslate actually change the game or not. So we have Majson here to give us his expert opinion, and then myself and Joker to give less expert opinion, but still an opinion. With this, we also want to kick off a series that will be leading up to the London Grand Tournament that is taking place at the end of, or that takes place at the end of the month. We will be there, so when you're there, come over. Let's high five, say hi, all that stuff. We will be there to do
smell
this.
Some dice.
Exactly.
Contact us once.
Yeah. So we will be there to do the studio in between the live shows done by War Games Live, so by Joe. Do come over and say hi. And now we're starting a series where we will be talking to players, people who will be at the event performing. We called the series the Lucky Seven, or the LGT's Lucky Seven, because it's going to be the 7th edition of the event. So the episodes that we are going to be recording or doing live will all spin around the idea of the number 7 somehow. We will try to make it work. If it doesn't, well, too bad. But at least you'll get to hear the players who play. We're going to do our best. Guys, I don't want to discuss the whole what was the meta like going into the Balanced Dataslate, but would you say that this data slate meets your expectations? Have you actually had a chance to properly look at it, or what we are going to be doing here is essentially your first reading of the slate? Joker, let's start with you.
Yes and no. So I have been reading some hot takes, some messenger chats, Discord chats, etc. From the, let's call them local communities I'm somewhat involved in. I'm only just looking at the points changes, at least once other than the Thousand Suns, and I feel really shafted when I look at the Thousand Suns ones, especially comparing them to Elder at first glance. But to give an actual hot take or whatever, I'm very much surprised of the amount of changes that are introduced. I did not expect that many of them to happen. And maybe let's just put a full stop there and we'll get into the details as we go.
All right. Majson, your first take, your initial reaction to the changes, the faction changes, the point changes, etc.
So basically, I learned already that do not expect anything because the GW always surprises. So
Yep.
there's no absolutely no way to predict anything that will what's going to happen. So I was just okay. Let's stop thinking about it. Just wait. And so can't say that I was surprised, but the amount of changes is like a lot. Uh, well, I think that after a couple of months of addition, the game just shifted completely into another state with those changes. Not only points, but changes to core mechanics that will have a huge impact on the game itself. So yeah, it's it's a big one,
Oh yeah.
especially that, for example, yeah, we got like in 3 days we got like deadline for Polish team list deadline for Polish team champs, so it will be fun.
Yeah, it will be chaos, I guess. But before, in a moment, I'll show the data slate on the screen, and we will go through most of the changes. I don't know if we want to go through like points changes as well, because everyone can analyze it on their own. Maybe just like an overall general feel and the impact on the particular faction. Uh, However, before we do, I just wanted to say hats off to you, Warhammer 40K community, because what happened today is your doing. So I think it cannot be understated how important it is that the customer actually speaks to the company that they buy from. And I think that voice of the customer is something that needs to be heard. So all the content creators, all the Facebook groups, all the discords, everywhere where you write and type and comment on the game, that's extremely important. And I think today we see the fruit of just that. So that's awesome. Keep on doing that. And then I think we also need to congratulate GW because they could have ignored it all, but they didn't. And they actually sat down, and it looks like they released a fairly comprehensive set of changes. In a moment, we will check whether for the good or the bad of the game, but at least it seems like they've listened. So kudos to you, GW, as well for actually listening to your customers. Uh, right, with that out of the way, I think we can get into the data slate. So I'll try to bring it on the screen right now. Give me just a moment. But before I show it on the screen, let's focus on the first change, I guess, which is what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with devastating wounds? Let's start with devastating wounds. So, Joker, can you explain to us before I show it on the screen, like what is changing about devastating wounds and what your feeling about that is?
Well, I'm lucky that that's like the only actual rule that I've managed to read in full today before you brought it up. So, woof. So the change is that instead of changing the damage characteristic of the attack into a set amount of mortal wounds, the devastating wounds now means that on a critical wound roll, the opponent doesn't get any saving throw. So neither an armor save nor an invulnerable save. Which is a big difference. Essentially means that any big guns that had this rule before are not killing multiple models in a single shot anymore, as it no longer spills over. And I think that's the most significant one. Obvious scapegoats here of this change are the Wraith Knight, a Mutant Vortex Beast also, although it has multiple modes of shooting, so maybe not as much. But yeah, all those kinds of big guns that are doing a lot of damage in a single shot, are nerfed, you could say. Um, I'm, I think this change is sort of good for the game itself. I'm not exactly a fan of, it just feels a little bit illogical that, you now again have massive guns killing a single dude. But logic is not what we're here for. We want a good game balance, and I think this is a change for the better.
Majson, your take on this?
Yeah. So basically, before, as my first impression after 10th edition was that there are a couple of rules that break the game, and my opinion was that devastating wounds mechanic, as a rule, is one of those. So I'm very happy to see that it was taken care of. So right now, it's because it used to be just brainless and just transferring wounds into mortal wounds just killed, for example, entire squads or uh, yeah. There's no so much mechanics right now to avoid mortal wounds, so it was just broken. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy. I'm really happy that it was toned down. It's the biggest impact I think is for Eldari faction for with that, because they basically base their lists on doing a lot of devastating wounds with Right Knights, Night Spinners, and Vanguard. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. It's a good change for game balance, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, that's my take about that.
Myson, do you think that devastating wounds themselves were that much of a problem, or the fact that they were often coupled with other rules that made exploiting them much easier, like lots of rerolls, fate dice, the obvious, again, elephant in the room?
I think the problem was that there's a high, like variance of results. You can get just it doesn't matter if there are rules or no. The core mechanics, in my opinion, was broken in its core. So you
Hmm.
can always like roll 4 6s from hand, and suddenly you do like destroy half of the units of something just because he rolls 4 6s with no defense, and that was just broken. That's my opinion, my take about that. Yeah, of course, with Eldars we get like a lot of mechanics like fate dice or riddles. It just um, it will, of course, increased the impact on the game, but the core rule was broken by itself.
Okay. So, can you think of like the impact of this on a specific faction? Like, does this affect, I don't know, Custodes, for example, in any specific way, or I don't know, GSC?
Yeah. So these two for Custodes, suddenly Custodes when met with like devastating wounds, they have absolutely no defense because they can't use the final pain against mortal wounds.
Hmm.
So it's a big difference. So current rule can be actually even better against Custodes, especially with, for example, Night Spinners or something. Because you will just do plain damage to Custodes with no save possible. And on the other hand, on GSC, when we got, like we also discussed in our GSC podcast, there was uh, there was a couple of moments, for example, when Great Knight was overwatching the squad of Gene Stealers. If you roll a 6 or 2, you just destroy entire squad. And what matters is just four acolytes left on the table. And if they're unknown, then there's a huge impact, a huge benefit for Eldari. But right now, you will kill just 1, 2, 3 models, maybe, if
Hmm.
you're really lucky. So it's basically for horde armies, it will be much easier to avoid being killed by mortal wounds, because basically devastating wounds was the main source of mortal wounds in this game.
Hmm. All right. So, I guess uh, the motivation of GW uh, to introduce this change was not only the complaints of the community, but also the fact that, and spoiler alert, I think most of the changes that we will see aim for that, is to introduce greater variety on the tables. And by variety here, I mean variety of units that can tackle different things. So removing or changing how the devastating wounds work forces players to actually tweak their lists to bring either more anti-infantry or anti-vehicle, you cannot just take one single unit anymore that is good at tackling both. Would you agree with that? And do you think that GW has achieved this with this change, or is it too early to say?
I think it's too early to say because
Mhm.
we haven't seen anything. Just this is day one, so after the first tournament, we'll see what's the impact on the variety of lists.
Right. Okay. So moving on, we have modifying a stratagem's CP cost. Majson, maybe this time you can explain what this is about. Do you like the change, etc., etc.?
It's not that impactful as devastating wounds. That's for sure. I just need to read out this one more time. I don't know the balancing slate by heart
Yeah, obviously.
yet.
So rules that modify
so-
the
How
CP
dare
cost of
you?
a stratagem when you target a particular unit can only do so for a stratagem that targets multiple units. If every unit you target has the same ability to modify the CP of that stratagem, and essentially rules that modify the CP cost of stratagem, but that do not specify the name of the stratagem, can only be used to affect the CP cost of battle tactic stratagems.
First of all, the second paragraph is I think the bigger one. For example, as GSC right now we cannot do 2 3-inch deep strikes because the stratagem for 3-inch deep strike is not a battle tactic. So suddenly we have like core mechanic, core tactic, core play of the entire faction just blocked by rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a nice change because it simplifies the game and just says that okay, everything is now limited, so you can predict more thing, and the game can get less tricky in a good manner. So there's less bloat in some kind of strange interactions, and it's good also to have this first paragraph modifying. I guess it's for modifying of stratagems to 0. Like if you have 2 units also from GSC. Yeah, sorry, I'm a GSC player, so I know
Obviously.
that. There's a stratagem to select 2 units for +1 to wound. +1 to wound. So we cannot modify this if just one got nexus, and that's it's kind of good. I think it's good like clarification of rule. So
yeah, it's good that it's there. Joker, have you been able to go through the changes that happened with particular stratagems in the game? So, for example, Overwatch.
Yes, but I actually wanted to comment on the
Go
modifying
ahead.
of the CP costs because the good thing is that with the change to it being the battle tactics stratagem for using the like free CPs essentially, free stratagems, they've actually managed to hit the ones that have been used the most and have been impactful to the game. So like Necron's Resurrection, Custodes Fight First, Thousand Suns, nullifying damage, for example, in Magnus, and the GSC 3-inch deep strike. So that's like a good change. I also like that actually now the classification of stratagems has a meaning because before it was like, do I care if it's about tactic, war gear, or whatever? It had zero impact on the game most of the times. I assume there were fringe cases that it mattered, but I don't know them. The annoying thing is that, again, this is kind of going against the simplification of rules, I would say, because now you need to remember what type your stratagem actually is. And I wouldn't say that they're intuitive. So that's that.
But with time, you
That's my take.
probably
Well,
like
sure.
you will become used to it. I
Sure.
guess. Yeah, it just takes a
Hopefully.
couple of games, hopefully.
Hopefully. So now in terms of the 2 core stratagems themselves, so Overwatch has changed quite a bit. You can no longer shoot without line of sight. You can no longer use this on Titanic units. So hello, Wraith Knight again. Yeah, I think those are the two changes for that.
Well,
And
there is one more, and
for
fair,
Overwatch,
yeah, it's very crucial, especially for me, because last game when I played against one of my friends who was playing with four obliterators, I dropped my trigon behind the wall, hoping that it can score an objective, and the freaking four obliterators just overwatched through the wall, uh, and basically killed my trigon. So
I
now,
did mention that you
oh,
can't
you've mentioned
do it
that. Sorry,
without line of
then I missed
sight.
it.
Yeah.
Then I missed it. But it's good to like repeat so that people
Yes,
memorize
yes.
it.
A good change, worth mentioning. The other change is to the insane bravery stratagem. That one I very much like, given that I have two armies that work around the useless battleship tactic. Um, so now you have to use the stratagem before taking a test, like it was in the previous editions, and you can only do it once per battle. So this is a good change, like period.
Okay, Majson, your take on this?
Yep, fully agree with those two changes here. So the second thing that was, I guess, broken in my opinion at start of the edition was Overwatch and overusing it, and now we got like blocked two biggest problems. So overwatching with Titanic units with just avoiding line of sight and so on. And indirect fire also, like who liked Desolation Marines overwatching on the basically on the entire table. I guess none. No
Marine
player like that.
players.
Yeah, Deathwatch players
Obviously.
like, yeah, but they got hit hard today. So
Oh, good.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
and
Do you?
insane bravery. It's the stratagem itself was also like uh, fixing like beforehand, before the changes. This made entire battle shock just not impactful to the game, because even if you have like one crucial leadership battle shock test to be to be made, you just roll a dice. If you fail, you have always spare like fallback solution. Use the strat.
Hmm.
And right now, yeah, you need to decide to do that before the roll. So you need to waste your resources before even knowing the result. That's good, and it's only once per battle. So still,
Yeah,
you
about
need to
that
decide.
last bit. Once per battle, do you think that is overkill? That it neuters this stratagem, or it's spot on chef's kiss,
I,
proper change?
I, I think it was not that necessary, but it's okay. I mean, usually we'll have like one or two, maximum three uses of the stratagem in the game that can have some impact. But right now we will have one. Uh, I don't think it's a big problem.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. So I
I
think
think it's spot on
yeah, yeah,
because
for factions
in
that
each
that
in each edition, at least the ones that I've played, there is a mechanic around like a leadership characteristic, and at first glance you look at it and it looks like, oh yeah, this is a something that will impact the game. It never does, because there's so many rules that just allow you to flat out ignore it.
Mhm.
So and in the previous edition, this exact same stratagem existed, was worded differently, and I mean, okay, like once per battle you can do it, fine, whatever. And then they just do this in 10th, like, and especially if you have armies that work around this mechanic, essentially allowing every other faction to just ignore your army ability, it's just, it sucks. Like,
Yeah, it
just
puts a
sucks.
dent in your
So,
game plan, basically. Like, I don't know,
well,
Tyranids
it
or
makes your
Chaos
army
Knights.
ability non-existent,
Yeah.
essentially. So that puts you at a huge disadvantage right from the start.
Hmm.
So removing this, I think, is just good.
Yep. I don't think we need to delve deeper into this. So let's focus on the next one, which is the change of the visibility section and the ruins. And I guess the elephant in the room, so the one of the most controversial rules in the game going into this data slate, so towering. So Majson, can you explain to everyone like what the change is?
So first of all, I would like to say goodbye to all great nights. At least
Well
You
earned
will
goodbye.
not be missed.
they will not be missed. So I got like a score of killing 5 great knights in my career. So I was not that scared, but yeah. So the change is like that towering no longer ignores ruins as it used to ignore. Right now they ignore the ruins, but only when they are within the ruin. So you don't have to ignore the ruin. You don't have to be like entirely um, within the ruin. They will need to just touch the ruin to ignore, but this one particular ruin. So I think it's a good change because it was also like a broken mechanic because you cannot actually do any table setup like. For me personally, I like when the table is dense because then suddenly the game gets more and more tactical. The denser
Mhm.
is the table, and so in a shooty edition, it's more than true because basically, if there were no terrain on the tables, then you and shooty edition, you just go first, win basically by statistics. And when we get terrains and stuff, it just makes the game a game, not just a roll. And here now we do have we just removed the additional broken thing from the addition. Also,
Mhm.
good change for me.
Yeah, as you said. So um, having dense terrain on the table affects the game itself, but it also affects the list building process, etc., etc. So it helps with that. For people who like that additional level of complexity, it's just there. But then bringing a unit like a Wraith Knight, for example, that can essentially see through the table, it just kills all that thinking process, or the effects of that thinking process that you've put into building your list, because like what's the point if the dude can see you anyway? So yeah.
Exactly.
Joker, anything to
Uh,
add?
I'm actually wondering if this rule could have been written differently by just adding a sentence to the core rules, like um, exclude the towering keyword from existence. Um, yeah, I generally think it's a good change, of course, but this again is a recurring theme, like the leadership thing. So you have these really big models like knights, whole actual, well, nowadays two factions that uh, revolve around them,
Hmm.
and fitting them into the game is just very hard. And you can see this now. They're always either super oppressive or super bad, and they're now going to be super bad again.
Do you think? Do you think that is going to affect them that much that they're going to be super bad
Not necessarily this change
alone?
exclusively, but
Hmm.
well, they've been hit in a number of ways, and that will result knights to be, looking nice on a shelf.
All right. I mean, not all right, but again, we'll see. We'll see what people bring to tournaments. It will be very, very interesting to see all the dashboards after like 3 or 4 weekends, because probably this next weekend, this first weekend, first of all, not all tournaments will have the data slate in effect. Second of all, I guess people will be still experimenting and it's going to be chaotic. So we need like a month to probably be able to have like reliable, sort of reliable results. But yeah, time will tell. Uh, are those all the changes, like the major changes to stratagems and so on? I think yes.
Two
So
core rules, yeah.
yeah, okay. So I think we can start looking at the faction changes. Um, so yeah, let's start with like in alphabetical order as they give it here. Adeptus Custodes. Um, who wants to pick this up?
I can.
Go on.
So, but in general, custodies got really nerfed with the faction rules change.
Hmm.
First of all, we got like a change of stratagem for it was a fight first. Just double checking. So yeah, the fight first thing. It's no longer a battle tactic, but an epic deed. So no longer it can be modified by CPs to 0, and no longer they can be used for free, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm.
So right now it's harder for custodians to use the fight first stratagem. Uh, the stratagem that would, I guess, everyone thought, but of course, but custodians players, but everyone thought that it's just broken with the core on the basis of core rules of the edition, because having fight first in opponent's turn basically makes a unit of custodians unbeatable on the objective by melee armies.
Yeah, but
Um,
would you say that this was what made them the kings of the fight phase in this edition? Because many people do call them like that. Like many people say that melee doesn't really exist in this game right now, and if it does, it's custodians.
I think it's maybe, but yeah, custodians go to was one of the armies that main damage output was actually in the combat phase,
Mm.
and they couldn't be countered in the combat phase because of this rule. So yeah, but it's a big change. But I think every custodian player will right now just spur two CPs for doing that against combat armies, and combat armies are not that popular yet. But let's go to the other changes.
Hmm.
Right now, the custodies units got nerfed with yeah the unit size.
Hmm.
Now we got like maximum of 5 mobile custodian guard and 5 mobile custodian wardens. While for wardens, it's not that impactful, because just this is just one model less than it used to be. I'm
Hmm.
just double checking the points on the same time. So I was let me have yeah. So they were also like there were point increases for them, and for custodian guard, there was a one of the biggest like threat on the table for custodians was a big blob, big brick of custodian guards. With a
Hmm.
proper character, they were just unbeatable in close
Unmovable.
combat,
Hmm.
unmovable. You cannot do. You just move them. For example, to play champion, whatever. They were just really good on the table. There were also a couple of lists that used, for example, 3 big blobs of custodian guards. Right now, it cannot be done. So the buffs on them just doesn't multiply that well, and you need to take care actually of optimizing it. So it's more like multiple small units army right now. So the units will be smaller. All wardens bricks just lost one model, and it's usually on the tables. It was like 1 or 2 models is left on the table, or just a plain character left on the table, and it's important when playing against custodians, because they got this resurrection stratagem as well, so you can just put the model back. But if the entire unit is gone, and it will be easier right now, you cannot resurrect models.
Hmm.
So suddenly, from like typical custodian warden squad got like 7 models, like one additional. So right now they will have just 5.
Yeah.
So not just -1 model, but -2 models in theory. So I think it's a big change for custodians. Then we
Hmm.
got bikes. I haven't seen a custodians bike in this edition, so I can't tell
Unfortunately.
what they do. Yeah, one of the first armies that I played competitively. Yeah, when I started competitive career in 40K
Hmm.
was bike spam of custodians. So I got a sentiment for that. Uh,
Yeah, I bought them too,
yeah.
but I never unboxed them, so they are still sitting in the drawer in their box. because I was hoping that maybe they'll see the light of day after this balanced data slate, but it seems it's not even the points; it's just how the fly rule works. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We'll
Actually,
see. Anytime a Custodes codex drops, bikes are ridiculous.
true that. Yeah, so we just need to
yeah,
wait.
they're good, but yeah, fly rule right now is like nearly no impact in the game, in the current wording. So
Hmm.
it's just better probably to run bricks of ordinary infantry. But it's tempting to just use like 9 bikes and charge and stuff. It's fun. It's fun to play.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Mechanicus or Adeptus Mechanicus. Two small changes. So we have the change to save characteristic of the Rangers and Vanguard units from 5+ to no, sorry, their save characteristic is 4+, and their invulnerable save is 5+. There are some point changes to this army as well. But Joker, do you think that survivability was the biggest problem of this army, or was it something else? And do you think that those changes are going to bring the army or to at least, I don't know, B tier?
Mm, it would be interesting to see. I'm not sure if survivability of Skitari was the actual issue, given that they were they were neither the main like objective holders. If you were playing Admech, they were neither the main damage output. They were essentially somewhat of a buffer unit, as in you just take the smallest squad possible, which I think is actually 10 man now, which is a bit of a bummer, and they just buff the other units thanks to the rules the other units actually have. That if they're within 6 of a Skitari unit, something happens. So I really don't think this change will be that impactful itself. Um, what I think matters more is the actual change to the insane bravery stratagem. Admech was one of the factions that had an army rule reliant on battle shock in some way, so that might make them a teeny tiny bit better, not much.
Hmm.
And then will maybe the points changes will actually help them out here by being able to squeeze in more into a 2,000 points list. That's my take. Not essentially an expert one, but there you
Okay,
go.
Majson, you played Adeptus Mechanicus. You won one of the major, or probably more than one major tournaments during the heyday of Mechanicus. So, what do you
My
think
one.
about those changes? Yeah, exactly. So, do you think that those changes plus the points changes will make you put off GSC and actually pick up Mechanicus again?
Probably not because
Mm,
Admech got like I played Mechanics Gears because it was the straight up the best army in the meta game, and there were no competition to Admech that time. And I was never like a fan of shooty army that goes first and kills the entire table. That's
mm-hmm,
not actually my style, but it was the best army, and yeah, if you want to win singles, you pick the best army, and there's no other option.
mm-hmm,
But here, I think the biggest problem of Admech is their detachment rule is like not that good. It basically, yeah, the rat bombardment is so battle shock for the first round. Uh, I'm not sure if this is something that will make any impact on the game. Uh, I can imagine a lot of more interesting rules for that. It's basically the problem with the armies are the core rules and faction mechanics, in my opinion. But maybe because yeah, it was a little time to do maths properly, and now we just have to look for the unit picks, what got point decreases, and maybe there's a build that can actually see a play.
mm-hmm.
Mm, but just straight up by pure firepower and statistics.
All right.
I haven't
think
seen I haven't seen the Admecon table yet in this edition, but because
There was one at the WTC, but I don't think it did that well.
no,
Yep.
I think so. I was going to say something, and now I forgot. What was it?
Sorry, my bad.
Oh, actually, I know. So, with the Torrent Codex, it looks like the index detachments might be reprinted, maybe tweaked in some way. I think that for AdMech players, their stance would be like, don't even bother printing that. It's just that level of not good. Shall we move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're done with Mechanicus. Eldari. So a long-awaited change to a certain stratagem as well, and that is, as we can see on the screen, Phantasm. So yeah, I'll just read it out. Only infantry can be targeted by this stratagem. Is this spot on? Is this not enough? Majson, your take.
Okay, so I'm happy to see this change because right now Phantasm phase got a lot less complicated. Like
Phantasm
a lot
Space.
less.
Loving it.
Yeah. This is actually Duda's invention, and I really like the take. Phantasm phase, especially in the mirror matchup, it's the most time consuming thing in the mirror matchup. Because right now, like half of the units, maybe like less than half of the units on the table will be able to phantasm. So it will be much more predictable and much more like as an opponent, as a playing against Eldari, it will be much easier to set up everything properly. Combined with the other changes, of course, it's nice.
I'm gonna throw an unpopular opinion. Sorry to jump in like that. I thought you were finished. Given all the other changes to Eldari, I think this one is actually irrelevant. And
Irrelevant.
I was expecting a lot more in the Eldari section for faction rules than we actually have received here.
Yeah, but I
And
had some
I can
thoughts about it.
elaborate on why I
Go on.
think it's going to be irrelevant because of other changes. Wraith Knights, I think, will not be so prevalent. That's one thing. The other most used units so far have been mainly stuff that didn't need line of sight, like support weapons, Knight Spinners, as such. And like Rave God, I think they're infantry.
Yeah.
So this essentially means that now Eldari lists will probably field a lot more infantry. So again, everything in Phantasm. So like this is not a change at all in that regard. I was really expecting to this have at least the fact that you can only do this if something enters within 9 inches of said unit, and that it would be like a D6 move, like all other rules like this are.
So I think the main target for this stratagem will be just the Bright Guard unit right now, and also we'll refer to more rules in this section. I think we can also put a devastating wound change on the Eldari section because it is I think the biggest impact on that. Yeah.
Agreed,
So,
I'm
but
not
that's
sure.
another
I'm not
rule
sure.
change.
I'm not sure if what Eldar list will look like after that. There are a couple of builds arriving in the metagame, including Harlequins in transports, but and there are. I don't think actually that the Eldar list will be based on infantry, but
so
maybe
uh,
we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. But maybe I'll be playing devil's advocate a little bit. I had this thought when I was walking my dogs a couple of minutes or like 20 minutes ago that balancing Eldari, balancing any army that is like a boogeyman of the meta and that is um, like the strongest faction is a little bit like fighting food allergies. And to whoever who has a food allergy, this will probably sound familiar. But if you eat a pizza with cheese on it and some veggies and some meat, and then your stomach is upset after eating it, uh, you really need to consider what is the actual reason of the allergy. It could be wheat and you are gluten intolerant. It could be the lactose in the cheese and you're lactose intolerant, or it could be one of the veggies or maybe the meat. So what I think GW is trying to do here is, although maybe too late or maybe too slow, I think they are trying to balance it by, let's say, toning down separate things one after another and seeing what the result is. Because if they do everything at the same time, like if you exclude all those things from your diet at the same time, you will never know what was the allergen, what was causing your stomach to be upset. And it's the same here. I think that if they change both the core rules, the faction rules, and the points, uh eventually they won't be able to tell which of those changes actually made the biggest impact. So that's why maybe they are doing this sort of gradually. And I'm not saying this is right, but I think it might be an explanation to as to why we only see one change to a stratagem in here and nothing more.
I like your comparison, but I don't necessarily agree with the logic behind it because
Fair.
neither now nor in the previous edition, for example, it was an issue to completely butcher Knights or Deathwatch. But butchering elf factions, so like Eldari now and Drukhari in the previous edition, oh wait, hold up. Let's not do that. Let's take it slow. But Knights, yeah, fuck them. Deathwatch, fuck them.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to argue with that. So um,
I think that maybe someone just doesn't understand that why Eldari faction is so broken here.
that's a possibility.
Uh, and yeah, basically every faction that got a good rule set, good value units, and just yeah, amazing rules that can do anything on the table. Basically, because Eldars got like every tool available. Phantas, Fahrenheit, Devastating Wounds. It was all there. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, but disagree. You could go the other
Yes,
way, but otherwise,
I'm loving the comments from Aegir.
yeah, very spot on. Um,
And he's agreeing with me, so that's why I'm loving them.
I figured.
Not necessarily because they're
Yeah,
spot on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no
there's
merit. I just like them.
I
also
think they are.
also a comment about that elders are reliable with rerolls and fate dice, and that's also true.
Yes,
Like
very much.
all of these mechanics before, like Sisters, the previous edition with Miracles, like previous fate dice mechanic, it just increases reliability. You don't have to roll that much, and this will be always a strong mechanic.
Yeah, and
In a
eliminating
die,
the
in a die,
randomness
in the
exactly
dice game, it's always
is the
good
best
mechanic.
mechanic you can actually have.
It should be random for everyone equally, basically.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
for sisters, no, because I just like this army, but
fair enough.
I will not. I will not be objective in that.
So I guess do we want to add anything about Eldari, or do we want to move on?
I think we can move on. We'll see what's the exact impact, but I don't know. One conclusion from that, I still think that Eldar will be like overpowered
I mean,
because
to an
there are
mhm.
still codex choices that you can take and be actually efficient at everything that you can do with that unit. So
Yeah, I think
Probably,
we can say more about them when we get to points, if we get to points.
yeah. One observation perhaps is that Eldari now, uh, like mistakes done by Eldari players will get punished more. Like they will need to focus more on positioning of stuff and so on. Like at the WTC, for example, there were lists, quite popular lists that had like night spinners there to set them up, or sorry, to set the incarn up. So basically, they could shoot something and then the incarn would appear. The incarn is now a little bit more expensive, and the night spinners, at least one of them, could just shoot, hide, and so on. Now the Eldari players will need to think more about their positioning, at least, um, because they won't be able to just brainlessly pop out, shoot, hide, repeat. So for me, it's a welcome change. That it's only limited to infantry. But yeah, we will see what the actual impact is in a couple of weeks, probably. Moving on. Not a huge change, but a change nonetheless. Agents of the Imperium Exaction Squad datasheet now consists of 10 models. The cost of that went up significantly. So does that mean that it's a farewell to that unit, and does it affect any factions in particular? Majson, let's start with you.
Yeah, so a quick thing about this, because why exaction squad were taken in the list, because they were the cheapest possible option for 35 points. They were just
Mhm.
bullshit, and you always take this if you can, and your Imperium army. So what's impacted armies? Custodies, Grey Knights, basically probably Imperial Knights as
Yeah,
well.
that's the same.
And right now there's just no use case for them.
Hmm.
And I think we can go on.
Because
Yeah.
they also had a significant point hike, I think. Not only the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they're
yeah.
10 models, it's not just double the cost because of that, it's actually triple the cost, if I remember correctly. So,
Hmm.
yeah, throw them in the bin, take them to kill team, but so long in terms of 40k.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to be in here anyway, so now they are gone. I think we can move on, and I'll allow myself to talk about Death Guard a little bit, because
We
that's
all know that all the
Same.
52 minutes we've been talking, you've been waiting for this moment. So,
just
yeah.
this moment, nothing else.
Same.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm gonna make it very, very short. So there is a change again, a welcome change, a long-awaited change to the core rule of the army. Stu Black said in multiple interviews in the past that the army fantasy is not working the way they intended it to, and they need to look at that. And this is an attempt to do it. So what changed? Well, what stays the same is that the army still has contagions, and the contagions decrease toughness of your opponents, and it does it like in the 3-inch range aura, 6 and 9 depending on the round of the game. But now on top of that, there you can choose another contagion that you will have for the entire game. So you choose this, you declare this in the so-called declare battle formation step, and it remains with you for the entirety of the game, and it grows the same way that Nurgle's gift grows. And you have three to choose from. The first one, so Skull Squirm Blight. Essentially, what this is, if your enemy is within the range of the contagion, it decreases the ballistic skill and the weapon skill of the characteristics of the weapon equipped by that unit or that model by 1. Then you have Rattle Joint Egg, I guess you pronounce it like that, which, again, within contagion range, it decreases the save characteristic of the model by 1. And then Scabrous Soul Rot, which decreases the leadership and objective control characteristics by 1. Uh, when I saw this for the first time, when I read especially the point 1 and point 2, so ballistic weapon skill and then save characteristic, I thought, okay, well, that's a neat change. That's fantastic. But then uh, some reservations came, because first of all, uh, it feels like they did very little or nothing about the army's survivability, and I think that the army fantasy was supposed to be army survivability, being tough, slow but purposeful, um, getting there eventually, giving your enemy a couple of rounds to try and stop you, but then if they don't manage, you essentially just devour them. Uh, with with this, well, you still need to get there, and you still need to survive to actually apply those effects. So if you think about it, the first one, the ballistic skill and weapon skill decrease, contributes to survivability a little bit, because it is tougher to kill you in a way. But let's remember, you need to be in range. The second one, decreasing the save, it just increases your damage output, which is again welcome, but doesn't contribute to the survivability. And now one might argue that especially the first one, decreasing ballistic and weapon skill, uh, can be applied to distant unit with the help of, say, a Hell Brute, which I'm going to test probably on Saturday. But then again, Hell Brutes are pretty squishy for what they do, so you probably need two, and it starts like a domino effect where you need to start adding things to actually make the army work. We'll see. I'm carefully optimistic about this change. It's definitely a welcome change. It's definitely something that is probably going to uh, lure people into playing Death Guard again, because the army is not helpless anymore, and those effects stack with decreased toughness. So again, some people were expecting that they do something about the toughness synergy or lack of synergy with another army rule. So many weapons have lethal hits, so automatically wounding, which essentially means that the toughness of the model that we are fighting against means nothing. So why decrease it? But yeah, I mean, I guess baby steps, one step at a time. I've been blabbering for way too long, guys. Do you have any additional comments on this?
I mean, this is a flat out buff, so I guess you should just enjoy it, let's say. And in terms of expected changes, I would never have expected anything other than loads of points decreases. So an army rule addition is actually like really cool. Will it be impactful? Not sure.
It is impactful to the point that I want to play Death Guard, and I'm happier about those changes, more excited about those changes that I just discussed than the Tyranid Codex and the 6 detachments in that Tyranid Codex.
I think the
So
most exciting change was allowing you to field 7-man units of Plague Marines. That was the hit.
it's a cherry on top. But yeah,
I can't
I'm
field 9-man rubric units, so I'm like, man, what's the point of even
W
playing the game?
WTFGW.
Are we just like talking about the fluff and right now, or sorry guys, I don't understand. I just don't understand you.
We're making references to it, not necessarily talking about it. Sorry.
Majson's brain does not compute. So right, but Death Guard, along with all the points changes, do look interesting. You can definitely bring in more than you could. From what I've seen in the Polish Discord, people are now coming up with all sorts of lists. There is a discussion whether Plague Marines and Rhinos are the way to go. Some people are considering dropping Morty completely, even though he is a fantastic force multiplier and his points dropped significantly as well. Some people just want to field more stuff instead of buffing units. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to especially if you think about one of the weaker spots of this army, which was low AP. Like the majority of the weapons, like my favorite fetid blow drones that I like to bring. I think they were like 712 in stats or something like this. So now it's 722, which is a huge change. Same goes for the Plague Crawler, which is strength 8, fantastic, but only AP 1. So if you are able to apply the contagion that decreases the save of a unit by 1, it definitely becomes way more difficult to withstand that barrage of 3 Plagueless Crawlers or something like this. So yeah, definitely a welcome change.
The thing is, can you apply this contagion in a stable way? That's on the thing. But I think that the mobility of the army just didn't increase, so it will be a problem. It will be a problem if you don't have a survivability to withstand like 2 turns of enemy shooting, then it can be a problem.
Yeah,
but let's see, because it's always good to see a faction that was like on the bottom of tier list to have some upgrades and buffs. So good change for sure. Let's see. Let's wait. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after the weekend, and we'll see.
Actually, I'm known for hating for my hate against the Death Guard, but
Well,
this
but
is this is
still,
one army I will never play probably. So
yeah, I know you prefer armies that are quick and make an impact
that
faster.
can actually move on the
Yeah,
table.
I'm a big fan of everything that is slow and purposeful. So yeah, I hope it works out on Saturday.
Yeah, see you on the table at LGT Invitational.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely taking Death Guard. Like no questions about it. So Joker, what's wrong?
What's wrong, Joker?
No, nothing. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your one game.
I thought so. Anyway, Joker, I see you are very eager to talk. So Death Watch is yours.
Mm, okay. It's
Have you
not
read
going
that?
to be. No. So I'm not going to contribute very much. I just heard that they got shafted real bad. So
There are
what we.
rules about
Um,
special
I
issue
can.
ammunition applied to bolt weapons,
Oh
basically.
yes, if you want to
Yeah.
take it, please.
No, I thought you haven't read
Okay.
it.
Okay, so basically right now we got like kind of limited the impact of stratagems for which were like a basic damage multiplier for kill teams and stuff. So right now only bolt weapons got these upgrades. It's kind of big impact on Deathwatch itself, of course, combined with point changes and changes to Desolation Marines, which will come like with Space Marine section probably. Um, it just nerfed Deathwatch. I wouldn't say to the ground, but it's nearly ground level right now. I guess there are better Space Marine factions right now.
Hmm. Okay, Joker. Anything? Any other comment?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Let's move on. There is page 3 and Majson. I mean, that's for you.
Yeah, yeah. So I must admit I'm probably no longer Gene still Cults player.
But is it the effect of that, or have you actually swapped
Yeah,
for the slate?
you just wake up in the morning as Gene Gene still a cult player, and after a couple of hours being awake, you just got smashed in the face too. Not once,
Hmm.
2 times.
So tell
Uh,
us, how have you been?
okay,
Where did they touch you?
yeah, everywhere. Okay, so first of all, let's go with the army rule. Right now, they got uh, actually there are three points. First point is the thing that we already mentioned. So a change to free use of stratagems and doubling use of stratagems. No longer two 3-inch deep strikes, which changes the whole dynamic how this army plays on the table in turn 2 and 3. So you cannot actually threaten the opponent with two 3-inch deep strike, which basically means that first 3-inch deep strike will get overwatched, and the second one will be a lot farther away. Right now, it's a huge change. It's a really huge change. With just this rule, it will impact all of the list because right now, for example, using 4 times acolytes is maybe not a good idea. Provided, yeah, because you will need to use rapid ingress to work with acolytes on the table. Now going to the army rules, we got the entire cult ambush army rule. It's like changed how efficient it is. Right now, every unit needs to roll to arrive back on the as an ambush token. On the basis, it's 5 up. It's +1 if it's battle line, so 4 up for neophytes and acolytes, and +1 additional if this is the first or second battle round. So for when in important turns, when you lose some units, probably turn 2, only because in the first turn you usually hide and there's not so much damage. But in the second battle round, you will have bring back battle line units on free up, which is basic. It's okay, but in this first turn, when you got after your second like wave of deep strikes, you'll bring back battle lines units on 4-up. And just so they basically work like aberrants, and all the other stuff, no non-battle line stuff, just goes back on the table on 5-up. So it's a huge change because right now aberrants which got killed, you can just as an opponent, as a counterplay for GSL cards. Right now it's actually even better to leave like 2-3 models from every unit and wait for turn number 3. So there will be less probable. It will be less probable for them to go back. And this was already a proper tactic against GSL cards. And right now it's even better. So a huge nerf, really huge nerf. I really don't like the mechanics that like we said before, why Fate Dice and Miracle Dice are really good faction rules, because they reduce randomness, and now yet a totally random faction rule. I dropped my aberrants from WTC list because of the 4-up, because I couldn't roll a 4-up in a 10 game. In 10 games, I just roll 1 4-up, when it didn't matter at all. And right now, I can imagine a games that will be like, okay, 1 1 1 1 1, game over, thank you. No core mechanic of GSL cards. So.
If
All
you
right.
can't roll 4-ups, you're not rolling 5-ups, are you now? Essentially.
And of course there's a huge point change thing happening. So my WTC list right now is 300 points more. I checked this. And okay, I could manage to do a list like removing 1 Witch Runner, 1 Neophyte Squad, 1 Acolyte Squad, and now I'm under 2,000 points. But on the other hand, now the core mechanic and dynamic of the faction changed. And if the opponent knows what he's doing, it's I mean it's still a good army, because you still have Acolytes squad, which are they're still worth the points. Just to be fair, they still will have the same damage output, and majority of factions got nerfed, so you got easier play against Custodians and stuff. But in the end, I think it's just first step to drop GSL cards from S tier to like A or even B tier. We'll see. Basically, it depends on the meta game state after a couple of tournaments to happen, and we'll know everything.
What's interesting, go on.
Yeah, just go
on. It was interesting earlier today. I listened to Innes talking about the changes, and his interpretation was, not that big of a change, or not. The army is still very strong. It's probably just a matter of like 1 Acolyte Squad more or less, and the army still will be powerful and still will be doing well at tournaments. So,
but it's still it is
1
still a
Acolyte
powerful
Squad?
army. Yeah, 1 Acolyte Squad and 1 Rich Runner and 1 Neophyte Squad.
No, but you're talking just points, right? I mean, if you add in the change the like army roll, it would actually be like a couple of more squads, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you will not have a feeling that you're playing against like a 3,000 point army anymore.
The problem is that of what I value in the faction in the rules, it's army stability. So I like stable armies that I can take to the tournament and just don't risk a couple of bad rolls to destroy my game. This is especially important for singles. When in win or lose system, you cannot afford to lose a game. And if you take GSL cards and have 1 bad game, you will roll like 4 1 or 2s in a row, and it happens. It's just the usual thing in 40k that you will roll a couple of ones in a row, and suddenly your entire faction ability is basically gone. Why no player used like pure string gene stealers or a lot of operands and other stuff other than battle line in gene stealer cults list? Because they just didn't uh, go back as ambush 100% of the cases. Of course, yeah, we can argue bikes are not that much outputs. Pure strains also are not that good into the meta game. Aberrants just one squad was okay, but because it was survivable enough. But in the end, I was not even considering taking other units than one single squad of Aberrants that don't have the battle line keyword. Yeah, that's my point. I like stable armies, and Gene Steel Cults is not a good army for singles because you will have in a 5-game tournament or 7-game tournament, you will have that one game everything goes wrong, and you need to have a fallback solution for in case it goes wrong.
Hmm.
Still, Acolyte squads are amazing, and like a pack of dynamite is still the best weapon in 40k universe. So
I think we exhausted the topic. So moving on. Grey Knights. Haloed in Soulfire Stratagem is becoming a strategic ploy stratagem. I actually have no idea what that means because I haven't played against Grey Knights yet in 10th edition. Can anyone
just
explain?
what's this? Oh,
I would assume it
making
was a stratagem
making.
that was spammed and it can no longer be used for free or multiple times.
I don't think it was spammed because this is the 2 CP stratagem for not being targetable within 12, outside 12 inches, and it was only usable for arriving within deep strike or teleport assault, and you needed to just use this stratagem just after the deep strike. So it was not that good.
But if there is a way to make it free, and
Yeah,
then if you
there's
look at like Jack
but
Hartford's list, then
once
you could
per
essentially do that all the time for free,
and no,
which
because
was
I
which would
think
have been
it's.
a good tech piece. But was it like
Just
that?
let me
It
check
definitely won't be
the
now.
captain mix. The rule for making this 0 CP in Grey Knights, it's once per battle.
Okay, so it's like totally irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean there is a huge buff in points for Grey Knights, so that's good. But huge debuff in points for Grey Knights with execution squads being nerfed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's Grey Knights. Imperial Knights. Joker. You might know something about them, something more than I know about them. So
Well, so maybe not the main, but one of the selling points for actually using anything else than armigers for Imperial Knights was that the big knights benefited from their own bondsman ability, which they no longer do. Then you have 2 stratagems that have been increased in the cost. Trophy claim, I think, was the one that gave you a +1 to wound. Valiant Last Stand. Oh, kill me. I have to check what that was. And then Thunderstomp is changing it to Epic Deed. Obviously, that's something that again would mean that you can't uh, manipulate the CP cost of it.
mm-hmm.
Um, are these changes relevant? I mean, I don't think. Okay, I'm not sure if I want to risk an opinion here, but definitely the changes to towering the recent points increases, not necessarily. I don't think they've changed now, but the ones that came just before the WTC cutoff, that just kills knights.
Yeah, I think GW listened to Vic, who in one episode of their podcast said that Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights shouldn't be standalone factions, and they should just be additions to other factions. So they essentially neutered Imperial Knights because you can't even. I think the costs changed to the point where you cannot really build a list that is like 14 armigers. You need to decrease the number, and whether that is still efficient to bring a list that has fewer of them, I don't know. Uh, but yeah, but you need to think about army composition again, and probably not in the way that an Imperial Knight player would like. So yeah, we'll see if people keep on bringing them, keep enjoying them, keep doing well with them. Next up, we have sorry, not page. Leagues
Yeah,
of Votan.
then that's actually really interesting.
Go on then.
Yeah, because for now, the rule, if I remember correctly, just stated that you can pick one enemy unit to have 2 tokens at the start of the battle, and right now you will have like 4 tokens to place. Like,
Hmm.
so in total, 8 tokens. So you select 4 units from the opponent table and put 2 judgment tokens on them, which means you get +1 to hit and +1 to wound on every unit shooting this 4 units, and 4 units from the opponent's army is majority of usually majority of the opponent's army, because you will,
Hmm.
of course, you will not include like 5-man squads of something of trash to or objective, like mission doers. You will just pick 4 most important units, like brick of terminators, brick of something, and basically tell your entire army got like +1 to hit, +1 to wound versus these 4 units. It's really really good.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and of course there are CP buff, but it's not that relevant. It depends. There's also a huge point update
Hmm.
for leaks of Votan. So actually, maybe they will see some play. The major problem for Votan after the edition change was that they just didn't have. They got nerfed with everything that could be possible. So one, as a shooting army, they got decreased ballistic skill. The profiles went just wrong because yeah, the weapon profiles got nerfed. Uh, so their defensive stats got nerfed. Right now, everything. I wouldn't say it goes back on track, because it's still one detachment rule that makes this army like better. But for sure, for all, my impression is that from all like outstanders or tier or last year armies, Votan got the biggest buff. Uh, that's my first impression after seeing the change.
Hmm.
But of course we'll see, because yeah, I haven't run maths, because I might be totally wrong after doing some math thing. But my impression is that it's a strong mechanic right now. Just picking these 4 units and multiplying the damage output of every unit. Still, this is a really slow army, so not an army for me.
Yeah, it is fairly slow. Apart from Pioneers, I guess. So, won't not the kind of flavor that you enjoy. Uh, okay, Joker. Anything to add about Votan, or can we move on to the Space Marine?
Let's move on.
Right. So Space Marines again, not a huge change, but I mean, it doesn't look huge on paper, but it is probably impactful to the game. So the Desolation squads, as we mentioned before, decrease in size from 10 models to just 5. Joker, your thoughts on this?
Well, they've obviously been the bogeyman of Space Marines at least, as in like the obvious pick. It's an interesting change. Again, like with the custodies, where they've changed unit sizes, not necessarily something at least I would have expected. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that this is another method that can be used to balance some units out. So it's good to see because they were ridiculous since they came out essentially back in ninth.
Yep. So the unit composition or the unit size plus probably the changes to Overwatch that do not allow you to Overwatch into models that you cannot see uh, potentially renders this unit useless. Maybe not useless, but compared, I mean, related
I
to
would.
their price as well, probably
They
SM
used to.
players have. Yeah, go on.
They used to. They used to be amazing in Death Watch list with all the buffs, and now they don't. They for sure they don't have bolt weapons. So
Hmm.
I
Right.
don't know, potentially, killing mission doers or like small stuff on objectives, but they feel a bit expensive for that. Although, obviously, the Space Marine Codex is right behind the corner, and we'll see how that changes the faction in its
Yeah,
entirety because
they
it's
can
it's
go back to. They can go back to 10-man squads.
they could,
Never know.
or they could go back, and drop the points or something like that. Not, it's not like the Tyranid Codex hasn't just dropped, and a couple days later we we have a balanced data slate that changes the points of units again. But yeah, GDubs is not even hiding it that the points are
Uh, I
going to change.
I personally think that it's we shouldn't complain about those changes because
Yeah, yeah,
balance
totally.
changes. I think the points value changing after the codex drop is not a big issue. It's because you need to prepare codex in advance. You need to basically do some balancing work beforehand. But and in the meantime, it can occur. You can run some more tests.
Yep.
Prairies, and then you already know that something is broken. Why not updating it before it makes an impact on tournaments and stuff? So,
Yeah, absolutely. As I said at
yeah.
the very
we
beginning,
can
mhm.
we can joke about that, but I think it's good.
No, as I said at the very beginning, I think it's extremely important that the voice of the customer is heard. It's important that people talk about it, complain about it, even that there is a lot of content about the stuff that is coming out, and then it's equally as important that GW actually listens to it, applies it. Of course, it doesn't happen immediately, but those changes are very welcome. So yeah, it's cool that they are actually reacting to what people are suggesting, which is fantastic. And again, thank you to the community. Thank you to GW for actually doing it. Uh, so we're done with the changes in the army rules, I guess, or core rules of the game. Uh, we can look at points, and I have something very nifty to show you. Uh, that will maybe speed up the comparisons and so on. But before we do, I think I'll do a bunch of announcements just so that our listeners know about certain things that are going on or are in the making. So yeah, first of all, thank you for sticking with us. I see we have some people watching. You are amazing and you are great. We are doing this for you. So thank you for sticking around. Uh, One of the first things that I wanted to mention is that we are going to the LGT, the London Grand Tournament, at the end of the month. We will be there doing live commentary in between the rounds. So we are going to be doing round summaries, round intros, and then summaries at the end of the day. Similarly, what as to what we did at the WTC, and similarly what we did at the last LGT, although back then it was pre-recorded and released later. This time we will do our best to have it done live as soon as the mission starts coming to the round starts coming to the end, or we are at the beginning of the round, you will have live coverage from us, and we will try to do it in such a way that it doesn't overlap with what Joe is doing for War Games Live, so that firstly you can listen to our introduction and then switch on to his stream where he will be showcasing the games. We will be bringing some merch to the event, so if you're interested in some Contact Lost merch, dice, t-shirts, something, then do come over and we will have fun with us.
Just like
Just dice. Yes, just dice. Did I say t-shirts? What t-shirts? Just dice,
you
obviously.
can look at
Uh,
t-shirts, but yeah, if
so
you
we
want
will.
something, you
Yeah,
can slip me a couple of quid, and then we can talk about some dice potentially. But just don't say it out loud.
yeah.
Um,
But more importantly, I will have one of our t-shirts with me because I'll be wearing it at the invitational event. If you like that t-shirt and you want to get one as well, do consider becoming our patron. The link is in the description. Choose one of the tiers, and you can become a patron as well. That helps us greatly, but this will also mean that we bring even better content in the future. Joker, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I also wanted to add that some of us here will be playing at least the Invitational. So that is, if you're watching these, the gentleman above me and the gentleman below me, if you're seeing the screen exactly in the same as I am. Some of us have decided to play Death Guard, having that privilege, which I just cannot fathom. But yeah, Majson, do you know what you'll be bringing?
Not on the live vision. I have some opponents to surprise. So
Of course,
I can,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I,
I can say that I'm bringing Inquisition.
I'm not going to
Exaction,
use
10
this.
exaction squads.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Six.
use the surprise factor in my games. I want to base it purely on skill. So so we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm going there for fun. So
Yes,
For sure, I'm siding against Devgar for now.
handicapping yourself is definitely the thing you want to do. After we spoke that we need to get event results in to grow the show. Well done.
I'll show you. You'll see. Anyway, coming back to the announcements so that we can be done with them. In the that corner over there of the screen, you'll see a logo of our new partners and sponsor. So we are being sponsored by the Army Painter. We are extremely privileged to have a partnership with them, and the partnership means that whenever we do a giveaway or something of the sort, we will be able to provide you with amazing awards. Provided by our sponsor. And one such giveaway is ongoing at the moment because we would like to celebrate eventually getting to 1K subscribers. I think we are like 20 people short or something close to that. So again, please press that
21.
21. Please press that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, please devote those 10 seconds to find us on YouTube and subscribe as well. Um, and then that's one of the conditions to get into the giveaway. The second one is in the description of this live stream slash video. There is a link to a Facebook post that I made about this partnership and announcing the giveaway as well. So please react to that Facebook post as well and share it so that we have, there is a trace of you so we can get back to you as soon as we reach 1000 subscribers. In the nearest episode after that, we will do a raffle, and in that raffle we will establish who is going to receive the award. The award is the speed painting mega set by the Army Painter. So like a huge box with 50 paints, 50 speed painting paints. So yeah, it's nothing to scoff at. It's actually an amazing award, and we want to give
It's
it away to one of you.
it's all you need to paint your metagame army after the data slate drops and your list is due 3 days later.
Exactly.
For example, like for the Polish team championship. Just, you know,
Yeah, Joker should be
might need
working
to
in
paint some
marketing.
stuff.
Right. One of the things that that is related to our cooperation with Army Painter is the fact that Vitalis, who is actually probably the most skilled uh, person painting wise on the team, will or has already started something that we call his artistic corner. So Vitalis will probably do a series of videos about the army painter paints and how to apply them, how to use them. He will be showcasing some techniques and so on. So yeah, Contact Lost is also adding like this artistic part to our portfolio, let's call it. So yes, so do follow us if you're interested in that stuff as well, because this is coming. And last
I
but not
can
least, yeah, go
I
on.
can also make one advertisement. You can paint a model with speed paints in 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, the Polish players have that experience.
like maybe not an artistic vision, but yeah, I managed to paint like 100 wracks in like one evening.
Yeah, we might actually do a a happening where we
It's
try to paint.
also a good content idea.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
do like
getting your
you know.
army battle ready the night before the tournament.
Yeah,
It's like Polish tradition.
Polish tradition, Polish team, like secret skill, how
No,
to get more, how to have
I
more time for practice.
I think we should totally do like the world Guinness record of painting a miniature or something like this, and then see if anyone can beat that. But that's an idea for the future. Last but not least, on the 16th and 17th of September, Poland will see probably the biggest team tournament that has ever taken place on the Polish soil. So the Polish team championships that so far, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 48 teams of 5 are signed up. The hopes are to have 50, so 250 players. Uh, Absolutely already a record. With some like unusual sponsors and so on, so it's becoming the biggest event in Poland with the best sponsors and so on and so on in an amazing venue, and we will cover it during one of the episodes. So if you're interested in the Polish meta and Polish team meta specifically, stay tuned, because we will be discussing it also in one of the future episodes. Uh, Also consider being a patron. So again, follow the link in the description to find our patron, and we would be much obliged for your support and help. Uh, I guess that's it. So, gentlemen, do we want to move to the points now? We can go through them really briefly, because it will take horribly long. So maybe we can just have a quick reaction to the points, and I'll show you something. Is this now showing on the screen? Yes, it is.
Yep.
I'll make it full screen, because our faces are not as interesting as the points. So you can basically see side by side the old points and the new points. And maybe I'll just ask you for a reaction. Like, are those points changes going to help Adepta Sororitas? Again, leave the gutter
So
and actually,
few-
yeah.
a couple of sentences about that. Yeah, this is helpful. We got a lot of point decreases here, but this still doesn't fix the I think the major problem with the faction. So if you want to build a good sisters list, you need to include both a lot of vehicles and a lot of characters to basically give away two easy secondaries. But yeah, the point values right now are quite nice. And
Hmm.
you for sure competitive teams should take a look on sisters right now,
All
especially
right.
for teams event. Uh, that's my hot take. I like this army, so I'm kind of biased in opinion, but yeah.
Hmm. All right. Cool.
But
Uh-huh.
let's go forward, I think.
Yeah. Custodes. Uh, Again, uh, some things went up. I think rightfully so, because this army was very powerful. It was probably in the top 5 of the meta, if not top 3. Definitely what GW is trying to do is, in a meta where Eldar are a little bit weaker and GSC is a lot weaker, they wanted to somehow avoid having armies immediately jump to the top just because some of the predators in the meta are now gone. And with Custodes, they are trying to do this with unit sizes and with points. So it will be very interesting to see how this pans out and if custodies can stay on top. Do we have anything to add?
I think the one take here is that planetary custodies got a decrease in points, and that actually might have some play uh, from Forge World models. That one thing that I, I think we can move forward.
Yeah,
I think
go
actually
on,
a lot
Joker.
of the Forge World units got point decreases. And the interesting thing that I found was that the Caladius graph tank wasn't changed.
I wanted to say that as well. Yeah.
It wasn't. It was popular initially, I think, in Custodes lists. Maybe not necessarily so recently, but maybe it will come back.
No, I think it was one of the most efficient. It is still one of the most efficient anti-vehicle models out there. And for 215 points, it's just insane with its, I think, 4 shots, twin linked, blah blah blah. It's really strong. I'm surprised that the points didn't drop. We haven't seen a whole lot of them at the WTC because it seems that most armies were focusing on like bringing infantry. Most Custodes armies were focusing on bringing infantry, but still. For solo play, 2 Caladises, I think they are a staple of every Custodes army. So I don't think that's going to change. Even more so because, yeah, the change. Sorry, the points haven't changed. So yeah. Okay, moving on. We have Mechanicus. So, Majson, are those changes significant?
I think it's a trend. There's a trend here. So for I guess Sisters, Atmec, and Voltan, also Tau, possibly that
Hmm.
a lot of stuff just went down like 5, 10, 15, 15 points, and this is a trend also seen here.
Yeah.
I
So,
still think that the problem is here with faction rules that make this army like mm, less efficient on the table, but all the point decreases are welcome.
mhm. Okay. Joker, I'll ask you about the next one maybe. Let's skip.
Yes, Adeptus Titanicus. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, plenty to say. No changes there. Moving on.
You
Eldari.
cannot, yeah, you still can't fit 2 Warhounds in the list. So
Hmm.
Ah,
Yeah.
darn.
Uh,
When will
darn.
my faction be playable?
Eldari, a
My
can of
Titan.
worms. So yeah, let's
yeah,
see.
one thing, one more time, goodbye Bright Knight, I guess. Uh,
No, sorry, here.
yeah,
Incarn got a significant points
yeah,
increase. I think that rather than the points increase, I would have preferred that they changed its rule that it cannot charge the turn it's teleported in, as it has been in previous editions. But yeah, I think that the elder changes in terms of points are a bit different to me than Custodes and Thousand Sons, as in the most popular things have received points increases here, obviously. But then we have like another set of stuff that's been untouched, or like 2 sets of stuff that have been untouched. And we were talking about this previously, that this index possibly has levels of brokenness
Hmm.
inside of it, which we are yet to discover, as most popular things get nerfed. And whilst the Custodes and Thousand Sons got hit with points increases across the whole book, essentially, because there's just as many unit choices as there are.
Hmm.
And that's why in the beginning I said that as a Thousand Sons player, I do feel quite a bit shafted, because the list that I have shamelessly stolen from Vic, who's a lovely guy, and then ruined it by trying to improve it, which will obviously not work, has got a similar points increase to Duda's WTC Elder list, which doesn't really seem fair, to be honest, because I don't think it was that oppressive. So to summarize this whole thing, Eldari points up, good. Will it be impactful? again, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, some elder player will just find another efficient options here. And
Especially given that, like I think you guys mentioned moments ago, it's not just that the Apex Predator has been nerfed. A lot of the top factions have been nerfed as well to like not have this foreseeable cycle, but rather an actual reset. And it does feel like Eldar might still be on top,
Yep.
partially because of this.
Yeah, I mean, this book is enormous, only surpassed, I think, by Space Marines. There are so many things to pick or cherry pick that probably we'll see more Harlequins again, maybe solitaires, maybe what do you call them? What do you call Fueg and Baharoth and so on? What are they?
Phoenix Lords.
Phoenix Lords. Yeah. So probably a build around that is highly possible. There's just a sea of opportunity and a lot of um possibilities to choose from. So yeah, I don't think Eldor players will have a tough time finding a replacement for Wraith Knights. And I think that's it about Eldar. So we can leave them. Uh, Agents of the Imperium already discussed. Calidus Assassin. We didn't mention that, I think. So became cheaper.
yeah,
Is that meaningful?
probably due to the change of core rules about decreasing stratagem cost, modifying cost of stratagems.
Because you can
This year.
decrease fewer number
Yeah.
or a smaller number. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not that impactful, I guess.
Do you think that we will see her in many lists now that her application is limited?
It depends on the metagame. If there are in the metagame, there's a lot of factions that spam more battle tactics stratagems, and maybe.
I think it's a matter that once we see codices actually come out, so there will be more battle tactics stratagems, which might be more impactful. Then we will be able to evaluate whether this change was reasonable or not.
Is any of the stratagems in the core rulebook affected by the color by like vect or something, like I don't know, command reroll or something like that? Does it make sense to bring the Calidus to actually affect those?
I don't remember right now which of the core stratagems are battle tactics because
I think the reroll might be. So just for that purpose, it might be still worthwhile to bring her. Quick, check.
Yes, check. And of course, I'm checking. You never, I never took care to just read.
Yeah,
I remember
That's the thing, right? That's another level
the
of
command
complexity.
reroll actually is a battle tactics stratagem.
Yes.
There you go.
Counter offensive and epic challenge. So
no,
I guess command.
No. It or the colors.
Oh no! The colors. Yeah, the colors doesn't.
Oh
match.
yeah, because the colors actually state
doesn't match
when you can use them, not what type. See, this is what I was talking about. That this is kind of against simplification.
I learned a new thing today. So.
Yep. So
you're welcome.
The command reroll is actually the only battle tactic out of the no go to ground. I have not. I actually forgot about the existence of this.
I actually remember about that because it mattered against some cases for G-Style cards.
Makes sense. Yeah, depends on what army you play.
But I have never used that, so.
At least you remember.
But I remember because I don't remember why, but what was the exact case? But there was a case that like the 6-up invul just made a unit survived the shooting.
So there is some application for the Calidus, some consideration to include her. in the list. I think we can finish with that and then move on to Imperial Guard, or as they want to call it, Astra Militarum. What changed? How did it change? How is it going to affect the faction?
So we got a lot of decreases in infantry and tanks. So yeah, from competitive point of view, we need to probably also run math engine and see if tanks are viable. That's the case basically. On the other hand, all the stuff that got spammed, like Scout Sentinels, got a point increase. So got like 10 points per Sentinel. It's okay change. Scout Sentinels are really good, so it's like I guess it's okay. Manticore got nerfed up to 150 points. It's still the best artillery out there, and probably it should still will be used on the cost of something, because as it was an Eldari case that everyone else was also nerfed, so maybe it will still. I strongly believe Manticore is not dead yet, and there was also an increase on Earthshaker platform.
Yeah, by 40 points. So
Yeah,
so they are
and this
tackling
is
artillery, right?
yeah. The carriage batteries are nerfed like a lot. So
Yeah, it seems that somebody looked at Skark's list and then thought that guy is doing too well, so let's kick him the balls. So Earthshaker, Rapier Laser Destroyer, this is something that
yeah,
Skark brought as well. Yeah, but on the other hand, they buffed up like Lehman Russes, for example. So all the tanks
yes.
pretty much went down, and the
Uh,
big tanks from Forge World as well. So
let's double check the Hellhound. Maybe
Hellhound, where is it?
that's interesting pick. Oh,
Where is
Unchanged.
where do
unchanged.
you
Okay.
see it? Because I'm blind.
I'm actually looking at the stat check spreadsheet.
Oh, look at you. Hellhound, there it is, unchanged.
Yeah, no, unchanged. Okay, and big tanks got a huge point decreases. So
Yeah, the
uh,
Rogel Dorn as well. So cool.
yeah, Rogal Dorn is still too expensive, I guess. But the big tanks are one of our ideas, was to use one big tank in the guard list. So maybe not on WTC tables, but UKTC tables, maybe.
Do they
Yeah.
have the? No, why would they have the towering keyword? But they can't Overwatch now because they're Titanic, right?
Are they? I don't remember.
Only we could check quickly.
Where are or what are they called? Skark also had those guys called I don't know, Imperial Attaches or something like that.
It's astropaths or something like that.
Yeah.
Regimental advisors,
Oh,
maybe.
that's what they were called. Oh, Regimental Attaches, unchanged.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
still extremely
Yeah.
cheap.
Big tanks got Titanic keyword, so no Overwatch for them.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Let's
again,
go.
I'll have to consult Skark maybe for the next episode and ask him whether these changes are impactful and whether he's going to stick to guard and how it affects his list. But yeah, for now, I
And
don't
does
have
he
that.
feel responsible
And does he feel
for them?
responsible? Yep, exactly. Black Templars, a lot of changes there. Probably healthy.
Healthy, but I have no idea how
Yeah,
this will
it's.
impact the game.
I think it's hard to judge Space Marines with a codex around the corner.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Blood Angels. I think there is something that we can say about them because, again, I think Pumbaa is eyeing them right now, having seen the nerfs to Thousand Suns. So, have Blood Angels changed significantly?
Well, I think you've got points decreases across the board. Again, it's another Space Marine faction, although it'll be interesting to see if specific chapters that used to be separate factions will or how will they use the new book. Obviously, if you've got points decreases across the board, you're pretty happy. But I don't necessarily believe in melee factions in this edition.
There was actually one build from WTC using
Mhm.
Blood Angels from Spain team, if I remember correctly. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the thing. But also it used like Desolation Marines. But
And
maybe.
a whirlwind or some other no, sorry, Thunderfire Cannon, I think, was there.
Which is supposedly going to be obsolete in the new book, going
Yeah.
to Legends or something like that. So, like I said, I think it's a bit rough to judge
Hmm.
without the actual book.
Yeah. I heard the opinion that Sanguinary Guard that are like the or are supposed to be the backbone of the army are still too expensive. Uh, but an idea of putting them in a Land Raider or something like that might be something that people might want to entertain. So we'll see. Sounds interesting. Again, like many changes in this balanced data slate, I'm happy because they seem to lead to a bigger variety on the tables, and that's always welcome. We don't want to see six identical armies in top places at the event. So if people are able to pull something off with armies like Blood Angels, that's more than welcome, and I think everyone will be happy about that. Moving on, we have Chaos Demons. Joker, that's your faction. Sorry. Uh, so anything
Don't get me
interesting here?
started. Um, so what they've done here is essentially being true to the letter that they've initially said when seasonal points changes were introduced. So we're going to take a look at the most popular list, most popular units. We'll increase their points cost, and we'll decrease the points cost of things that were not taken, in an attempt to, balance out a faction internally. And this is a prime example of this, where it feels like that's the only thing that's actually been taken into account. So all of the greater demons, or the ones that were actually chosen within lists, the most popular ones, have received points increases, with Shalaxi getting even 50 points, which seems very ludicrous. And then you've got little points decreases across like the smaller units. I feel like that's not exactly, it's not helping the faction in any way, because the points costs were not necessarily the biggest problems for demons. And yeah, I think that's just that. I would have much preferred if demons were actually untouched as a mid-tier army, and then we'd see where they'd place in the new meta. It feels like it's just going to be worse for them now.
Hmm. I'm actually happy to see Nurglings going down because you have now three bases for 35 points, essentially 15 points per base, like Ripper Swarms for Tyranids.
But what do
I
Ripper Swarms do for Tyranids? Do they have OC, for example?
They don't have
Or
OC, but you can take a single base now that you can deep strike. So you can deep strike that for behind enemy lines, for example, because one base, like 130 millimeter base, is perfect for deep striking behind enemy lines. You can use it for pushing away deep strikes and so like enemy deep strikes. And there is some application in one of the attachments to the Trinity ring because it's a harvester unit, and there is like the entire attachment built around has harvester units. I think four of them. So basically, a Ripper Swarm base for 15 points can work like an apothecary for Space Marines, and it can either heal a model or bring back a model. So it's insane. But for 15
that's
points,
cool.
yeah, that's amazing. But
So
yeah,
now, do Nurglings without the ability being more expensive and being more bases are actually good?
I mean, more wounds, similar application.
But wounds is not for what you expect them to do, because their durability is like non-existent.
Questionable. Yeah, I know, but for an army like Death Guard, where you want to bring Nurglings as allies, I think they are still very welcome to help with the movement issues and so on. So I'm talking from the perspective of a Nurgle player, let's say, overall. Anyway, let's move on because this will take forever. Chaos Knights, also your faction joker. So if you could briefly tell us what you think about this.
I'll just repeat what I have said. Maybe add the fact that now that towering has been changed entirely, I don't see why the points increase for being towering has not been revoked.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's all I've got to
That's
say.
I
Again, the points changes for Chaos Knights for me feel a bit unnecessary. They were not a top tier faction. They had one build which has been nerfed for I don't really know what reason, to be honest.
I agree with that point about towering and the standard build. The Chaos Knight build just lost one of Small Knight, so it's back to 13, I guess.
Yep.
Small Knight, but it's still I think it's still okay. Like taking into consideration all nerfs that happened on the table, it's still fair. But we'll see on the table. It's
Yeah.
actually it might get better, but let's see.
hmm Chaos Space Marines, another big one. So a lot of changes here, as we can see. Abaddon went up, I think rightfully so, because he is a beast, and 280 points felt a little bit, you know, too low. Obliterators, also a little bit more expensive from like the most important parts. I think people are excited by the fact that Warp Talons became cheaper. Um, other than that, I don't know if there is anything worth attention here.
Some decreases and Space Marines rules are actually good, so everyone should just take another look on the CSM.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit not optimistic here, but we'll see.
I mean, previously
It's
before
not.
the LG, go on. Sorry.
It's just not my faction, so I can't. Yeah, I haven't analyzed this properly yet.
I what I wanted to say is that last year before the LGT, we also had an update or like a whole new, I don't know what to call it. I think not Arcs of Omen, but the one before that was released, and players like Vic or Sacco from France were able to invent some very interesting CSM lists that actually took the event. So I will be very curious to see if the CSM can return in the same sort of glory to the LGT this year. There is a month to practice. We'll see. But these changes probably mostly welcome by the CSM players. Dark Angels. Most important change probably that all Land Raider variants seem to have gone down. So
Yeah, but this comes to Space Marine. So,
yeah.
but basically, our WTC list got cheaper for. I don't know the exact number of points, but it went cheaper. And it was already one of the best possible variations of the
hmm
list. And this particular list didn't even use Desolation Marines, so
Yeah.
probably it will be just way to go.
What was it? Aggressors with like the new
Yeah,
apothecary in the Land Raider
aggressive. Yeah, something. And the Freak Knights, Brick
and
and
Deathwing
Deathwing
Knights, of course.
Knights are still the same points. So
hmm Right. I watched the stream by Technical Tortoise earlier today, and he mentioned in his stream his previous video where he was analyzing the top list from the WTC. So he went back to Leshu and he said something along the lines of, "Look at this prophet. He knew what was going to play even before the balance data slate. What a Chad!" I confirm. Leshu absolutely broke the meta with that one. Death Guard. So I'll just go through this really quickly. Everything, pretty much everything of any significance to this army got points decreases, which is amazing. Mortarion went down, PBCs went down, so Plague with Crawlers went down. My favorite, Fetid Blood Drones went down. The Shrimps or the Mephitic Blight Holders went down. Everything here is in red. Very welcome changes. I already have a bunch of lists where I can see the impact of those changes because I can pack way more into the lists than I could before. Connected with the new, in conjunction with the new rules, I'm really, really, really excited to put the army on the table and see how it does. So I'll leave it there. I'm not asking you for any comments because we don't have time. Uh, Death Watch, we've seen the nerf. Points wise, also nerfed. Does that mean that this army is dead now?
Actually, points here are decreases here. No, protest team
No,
is
no.
protest team is increased. Yeah, yeah. Uh, I guess so because Deathwatch was already like controversial pick. But just remember to all listeners, I'm more like a team player, so I always take a team tournament perspective. From team wise, Deathwatch should be dead right now.
Okay, I'll take that. No questions asked. Drukari, Joker. Again, one of your armies, so go ahead.
Points decreases across the board. Obviously, great. Will it be enough? Doubt it. Apologies. The Ravager has actually seen an increase in points because it was taken in Eldar lists.
Or Inari.
Yes,
Mhm.
Eldar,
and
Nari,
totally,
whatever you want to call it.
I totally agree with Joker.
Mhm. All right, Joker. Do you feel like playing Drukari now after those points decreases?
No.
Thank you.
Mainly because I really liked how they played when they were really oppressive in ninth. Not necessarily because they were really impressive, by like the play style of approaching in transports, getting out and smashing people in the face. You can't really do that now, so
Hmm.
they're dead to me for the time being.
Right, Tom.
Yes. One could call you a power gamer or something like that.
Yes.
Well, however the
One could
saying
do that.
goes, one power gamer will recognize another power gamer. So,
Of course.
uh, Gene Stealers. I don't know
Yeah,
if we need
I
to.
already told
Yeah,
about it. So
yeah.
basically, increases, and some small points like pure strength in James levels got a 5 point decrease. But yeah, taking into consideration we have said about the army rules, this army is still strong, but much less stable on the table.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. To the point where you are not considering them anymore, which I think speaks volumes, and we can move on. Grey Knights, cheaper across the board, which is expected. I think many people said that the army has potential. It's just too expensive. Now it should be able to bring 1 or 2 units more than previously.
Yeah, it was the one army that we looked as before the WTC for preparation phase. So we looked to
Mhm.
the rules. I looked through the Grey Knights rules. Read, okay, that's amazing. Let's see units. Okay, they're fine, and then point values totally overcosted. Everything was so overcosted. It was the most overcosted army. Like the
Mhm.
it was the feeling that they included the faction rules in the unit costs, and that's really like
Yeah,
not a way to go, in my opinion. But
yeah. I'm looking at the Nemesis Dread Knight, 185 points. Still seems kind of expensive. Uh, 200 points for Grandmaster and
I,
Nemesis Dread Knight. Probably that should be 185.
I think interesting is Purgation Squad, 5 models.
Hmm.
Squad got decrease of 45 points.
55, I think, even it was
55 points.
190 to
55, yeah,
135.
55
Look
points.
at that. Yeah.
It's crazy.
11 points per model.
Yeah. Really cool. I mean, good to see those changes. It's good.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going in the right direction. Yeah, let's see in a couple of weeks how this affects the army and if people pick it up more because it's still not the most like popular army, at least judging by them appearing on tables at bigger events. Imperial Knights, uh,
I think
some
the same
increases.
the same thing like
Oh, look at this.
Renegade Knight.
Canis Rex
Yeah.
went down. Hmm.
Yeah,
Joker asked to
probably because
rework
he's
towering. So
yeah. But I guess it's I think he had some sort of an ability that reduces the stratagem cost, and given that it probably now is less significant because of the change to battle tactics stratagems, they've chosen to reduce his points cost.
Fair enough. Leagues of Votan. So we've discussed this already. Significant changes in points to make them more appealing, and we'll see if people turn to them. Thunderkin for 75 points. That's cool. Berserks, just 100. Again, looking good, looking promising. I hated playing against this army in 9th. Let's see how they do now. Necrons. I haven't looked at Necrons, but
Yeah, I got 2 points from here that are
Mhm.
important. First, Lich Guards got hit. So right now they're more expensive, like for 40 points per 10 models. But on the other hand, Necron Warriors got the point decrease, which is really surprising because there was a lot of builds based on Warriors instead of Lich Guards. So probably the optimal way to approach Necrons will just turn from Lich Guards to Warriors, and that's provided everyone got nerf. Necrons can actually be one of the winners of
potentially.
potentially. That's my first take. So
Yeah,
Cryptic Trolls good.
Thralls went up.
There, of course, there are some increases, but in the end, other top armies got nerfed much more.
Yeah, Necrons shouldn't really complain that much. Could be worse. Orcs. I see point drops.
The thing is that track got 10 points increase. Yeah, so it changes the most the best
Spammable.
build.
Yeah.
They're less spammable right now, and on the other hand, there's a couple of decreases somewhere over the board, but nothing. I guess nothing that's impactful.
Okay, let's move on. Forge world units, blah blah blah. Space Marines. So probably the most time absorbing section. As I said, Land Raiders went down, which probably is interesting to all players who got inspired by Leshu and then John Lennon also picking up, like maybe 2 even. So yeah, anything else worth of attention?
Aggressor Squad went down 10 points.
Yep.
For 3 models, that's also important.
Yeah, so I saw Leshu comment on the Polish Discord saying that his list went down a bunch of points to the point where he can take a Calidus Assassin now.
Yeah, it's good it's not a second Land Rider because it will be oppressive.
Yeah, kind of. It's amazing that we got to live in times where we put oppressive and Land Raider in the same sentence.
To remember all of these jokes running around Polish tournaments about Land Raiders and
exactly
stuff. It's
and
amazing.
Now it's happening and we're living it. All right. Redemptor Dread. So yeah, Dreadnoughts. Small changes there. I think this and the Brutalis one. It was there up there at the top.
Yeah, I think the majority some stuff will change in the incoming codex, and the most important fact, units in Space Marine list just got some increases or decreases, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Space Wolves. I saw Furas being happy with some decreases as well. I think he mentioned Logan Grimnar on like the Santa Claus on his slate, costing 160 or something like that. So yeah, 180. Some changes here. Probably also welcome. The cavalry, stuff like that. Yeah, good stuff for Wolves. Whether we see them at tournaments, I think they also relied to an extent on Desolators, with them being gone. Who knows? I leave it to the ingenuity of Space Wolves players. Tau Empire. So an army that Poland took to the WTC. How do you feel about the changes here?
Okay, we got a lot of decreases. Like
Mhm.
top picks in the army got a lot of decreases. Like broadside battlesuits minus 20 points per yeah, minus 20. When
Mhm.
broadside one model, yeah, minus 1. Yep. Prices got cheaper as well.
Mhm.
So basically everything that we used at our team went down. On the other hand, we got like strike teams, like breacher teams. I guess hammerheads also went down, if I remember correctly. Let's double check.
They did. Yeah, 15 points on hammerheads.
Yeah, and so a lot of stuff got cheaper.
Mhm.
Uh, let's see, Tetras. So the most important models here are the
Where are they?
Unchanged.
same unchanged. So a great buff for the faction.
Okay. So
Especially that gene steel cults are no longer that of a threat, because this is a hard counter to Tau. So
yeah, and in an edition where shooting is probably of greater significance, an army like this that becomes cheaper will probably always see the table. So yeah, okay, Joker.
I think I've already mentioned this is the case where essentially the whole index almost got points increases, and yeah, so your average list has probably gone up by around 200 points at least.
Hmm.
Uh, I feel that it's a bit rough, but that's what it is.
Okay. What's the implication of higher points for this particular army? Fewer units on the table, and does that translate to something like, I don't know, fewer cabal points or?
Well, you kind of have to make a choice whether you drop a character potentially, which would mean fewer cabal points, which you don't necessarily want. Whether you have to drop a, well, actually dropping one character won't be enough. If you're dropping a rubric unit, which decreases your damage output essentially, or you're dropping like mission chaff.
Hmm.
So, choices need to be made here,
Yeah.
essentially, because you're not fitting everything that you wanted to. And also, that does result, you're kind of maybe not making the breaking point in terms of the amount of cabal points you start with. So, might not be able to pull off all the shenanigans. Also, worth mentioning is the stratagem change here again, which means that, if I'm not mistaken, the only stratagem that you can actually use twice is the reroll. I want to say, or the reroll hits and wounds. Not bad, but you can't nullify the damage on Magnus twice anymore.
Or
So
double movement, or can you
no,
still
double moving
yep.
is just another cabal. You can still
Oh,
do that.
god damn it!
Uh, but yeah,
But he's more
that's
expensive now, so.
yeah,
Haha.
30 points increase.
Right. With Mortarion costing 325 now, I mean, you can see who is the boss. I'll just move on. Tyranids, I should probably comment something on this. I guess, as we discussed, it is expected that points or point adjustments happen, and it's good that they did it. Some changes good, some changes beyond understanding for me. I still don't understand how it's possible that the Tyrannofex went to 245 points from 200 when it lost one of it, like the most important rule, which was damage reduction. Uh, but again, there is so there are so many possibilities now with this codex, with all the detachments, at least four of them being totally playable. So yeah, I think Tyranids players will have an interesting time preparing for the LGT. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. uh, oh, I think this is where it goes to shit with this application. But World Eaters, will we see World Eaters being played? Majson, what do you think?
It's still shooty edition. Nothing changed.
Mhm. Okay, moving on. That's actually it. So we got
Yeah.
to the end of the points. Since this has already taken way too long, Majson, quick question to you, and we will wrap the episode. Can you name, since we are revolving around the number 7, or wanted to revolve around number 7, which changes do you think are going to be the most impactful for the upcoming LGT event?
Okay, so we got first of all devastating moon change.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Second thing, nerf to custodies. Totally the whole nerf to GSC, nerf to craft rules, nerf to Space Marines, and some buffs for the Dark Angels.
Mhm.
I guess Tau might actually emerge from being the low tier faction to something that can surprise, especially on tables at UKTC tables.
Mhm.
And to be honest, the last pick, I would say that they're maybe not surprising, maybe not play for a win, but I guess there will be some also resurrection of Voltan. Same stuff as Tau, shooty edition tables, UKTC tables, and maybe there will be some, at least some of Voltan players will try to yeah, to try the luck in at LGT.
Mhm.
So that's my 7 like picks for that I thought
Mhm.
about for this episode, and that's my like my take on that.
Okay. Great. Fantastic. Joker, do you want to add anything, and do you want to lead us out of the episode, perhaps?
No, let's just finish there.
Mhm.
I think so. We've been contactless. The road to LGT has now officially begun. In terms of our coverage of the event, we will be there. We can't wait to be there. And we would love to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube before we actually go there. So if you like what we do, please like, share, subscribe. Make sure everyone in your area knows about us and they also like, share, and subscribe. And if you really like what we do, then we also have a Patreon set up, and that does give you access to merch, to additional content, even, and all sorts of wonderful, wonderful things. So, thanks very much for listening in. We have had Majson, our new addition, and the expert to our actual little team,
He's
waving
waving
his
to you.
hand elegantly. We've had Tweek, who's the mastermind behind the whole endeavor.
Bye, guys.
And we've had myself. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'm trying my best.
We
Peace
appreciate
out.
you. Peace out, guys. Bye bye.
See you next time.